Good afternoon. It's 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. We'll call the City Council meeting of the City of New Ulm to order. Item number 1 is consent agenda. Councilors, what are your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve those.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, licenses and permits. 2.1, raffles gambling permit for ISD 88 Foundation.
I'll offer a motion to approve the issuance of lawful gambling permit for ISD 88 Foundation to conduct raffles gambling at Royal Oak Event Center, 301 20th South Street on Friday, April 19th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3.1, summary of business conducted during board and commission meetings.
I can start out. We had the daycare meeting last week. Again, we're taking a look at after-school daycare options. We also, as you noticed in the paper yesterday, Senator Smith was here in town and was able to get a tour of Westridge Place and was very impressed, and looking at it as a model to potentially duplicate in other parts. Not that we're the very first one in Minnesota, but we are certainly within a handful of the first to do that. EDA met last week. Probably not a lot. Most of it was pretty business as usual, exception of a request from our CTE center about wanting $40,000 from us with a laser for purchase of a specific laser product, and some miscellaneous things. And we had some really good discussion on that and the importance of the CTE Center in our community, and how we have supported them from day one and how we want to continue to support them. But also the fact that we don't have a lot of money in that category anymore, and we have to be careful, and was $40,000 the right amount or smaller amount? We decided at the end to go with the $40,000 to get them up to speed and have them keep going and doing the good work that they are doing there. So that's my report.
All right, HPC met last night. They did 3 signage approvals on Main Street. One was for a Nashin Company at 204 North Minnesota. One was for Nadelkunst at 212 North Minnesota. And one was for Kempski's, who is now going back into their old building on 509 Center Street. Those are all approved. Really nice presentations. Park and Rec. All right, we did not have a regular meeting, but we did have a work session, and it was a very lively work session. As most of you read in the paper, the Veterans Organization was here for the Vietnam Memorial, flagpoles, that type of thing was discussed. The future plan of what the park should be. It kind of got lively at times, but Mr. Schugel did a good job reining it back in. And also, the Park and Rec Director presented the Park and Rec Comprehensive Plan, did an excellent job. There was a lot of input on it, and we'll all be seeing that in the near future, I hope. That's it.
From the sister cities, we selected a candidate. Anna Howard will be our next outbound sister cities exchange student, and they'll be working with her arrangements to travel there this summer. So that's
Incoming?
She's the outcoming.
I know. Do we have any incoming?
We do. Yeah, actually, we'll have 2 with one with the that's going to work for the PUC and the wastewater.
Oh, that's right.
Also
I
that we're
remember that.
partnering
Okay,
with.
thank
So.
you.
Brown County Solid Waste was business as usual. Transportation Committee, we are getting a new Herman Express bus soon that's going to be nicely wrapped and decorated. Herman Express is still exceeding expectations and doing a great job, so that the new bus will be coming shortly. And right now, the electric bus is still on somewhat of a limbo, but it's still in the pipeline. So.
I was in Washington, D.C. last week with Region 9 Development Commission at the National Association of Development Organizations Conference. Through that, I did have a chance to meet directly with our Congressman Finstad, Tina Smith, and Amy Klobuchar. And I talked to Tina Smith about, hey, we got to get you down to the daycare again. She's like, I know. And then here it was on Monday. And so we were both kind of, working towards that. And then in regards to the intern coming from Germany for the PUC, I will be hosting her for a portion of the time, but we are looking for host families as well. So if you are interested in, or have hosted in the past, you can get in touch with the city and we'll get you guys in the right direction. But those are my updates.
I attended Sister Cities. You've had that report. Also, I was at EDA, and you've heard that report. I did participate in the tour yesterday with Congresswoman Tina Smith, and it was so, I don't want to say comforting, but good to have her here. She was on point. She had obviously been well-informed, asked some great questions. Heather Bregel, our staff person for EDA, did an excellent job presenting the project to her. And just having her in New Ulm and touring that daycare center, I think, was a big plus, a great check mark for New Ulm.
And I would just like to add, as part of that, Senator Smith really listened to what the providers had to say and listened to some of their concerns. And one of the concerns was about the food program. They don't get reimbursed as they would as they were in in-home daycare. And she's looking into that to get some type of waiver or something so that they can be, the pod model could be included in that. So again, listening to those concerns and helping the providers out.
And at the state level, I know from my Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities communications that that group is also advocating for that as well. So it's nice to see that that's on the radar because we really do think that these are the daycares of the future, if you will. So very good. Any other updates? Thank you so much. Moving on to old business, item 4.1, 2024 Utility Street and Alley Improvement Project.
Thank you, Madam President, City Councilors. Last week, staff received and opened one bid for the 2024 USA project. That lone bid was from MR Paving and Excavating in the amount of $3,117,698.85. After review of the bids, we found it to be relatively well balanced. The items that caused the bid to be higher than what we estimated was the sanitary sewer piping materials cost for the German Street portion of the project. After discussion with the contractor, pipe material prices were slightly elevated, as well as the difficulty and nature of that portion of the project, and which is reflective in their pricing. So it is our recommendation that we award this project.
Thank you, Mr. Stadheim.
I'll motion to award the contract for the 2024 Utility Street and Alley Improvement Project to M&R Paving and Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $3,117,698.85.
I'll second.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
One comment, I got to thank the city engineer. I did like that breakdown you gave us of the cost. I did like that. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4.2 is ordinance number 2024-082, second consideration zoning. Mr. Nicely.
Good evening, Council President, Councilors. John Isley, planner with the City of New Ulm. To summarize for the councilors who were not here during the first reading, in summary, what we're doing here is requesting a change to the zoning ordinance to reduce the downtown parking, off-street parking requirements for a residential unit from its current rate of 2 per unit to 1 per unit. And I'm going to give a kind of a summarized background of what I did at the first reading. So the information that we used to make this recommendation that was presented to the Planning Commission, we consulted with the city rental inspection records from the fire chief. We took a look at the building official permit records, the special services district, which calculates all the privately owned off-street parking stalls in the downtown area each year. We reviewed the city-owned off-street parking spaces for lease. That's continuously updated. We had discussions with the city parking enforcement staff, and I would note that city parking enforcement staff is kind of the pulse, has a good pulse on what happens with downtown parking. One thing they noted when they're doing enforcement in the downtown is that many of the issues of the citations that they're having to issue in the downtown aren't for people living in the downtown. Typically, it's the employees that are working in the downtown. So I thought that was a pretty interesting note. We also had discussions with the City of Hutchinson and the City of St. Peter Community Development. We had information provided to us from private developers. for a couple of projects in the downtown. Oh, thank you. We spoke with the Chamber of Commerce Board, also spoke with the New Ulm Business Retail Association, and then we consulted with the New Ulm Housing Study, which was conducted in 2022. As you all know, the downtown parking serves kind of three purposes. It serves customers, serves employees, and it also serves residents that live in the downtown. So for downtown residential units, currently we have 217 residential units in the downtown. 5 of those are owned, the rest of them are all rentals in the downtown area. We have 6 multifamily buildings in the downtown area. 5 of those 5, there's actually none of them that meet our current parking requirement of 2 to 1. The closest we get is from City Center Apartments, and they're about at 1.5 off-street parking stalls to 1 unit. We have 2 proposed residential multifamily buildings in the downtown. Obviously, the Market Plots Mall, they're looking at 60 to 90 units. They have currently underneath the mall 137 stalls. That puts them at roughly 1.75 stalls per residential unit that they're proposing. And then we have George's Ballroom, and they're proposing 84 residential units, and they have proposed 116 stalls per unit, and that comes out, 116 stalls, that comes out to about 1.4 stalls per unit. So what I'm getting at is these residential developments that are in the downtown, they're already providing more spaces than 1, which we're recommending 1, but they're also not getting to 2. I should note that there are approximately 70 storefronts in the downtown. So downtown parking. Private off-street parking stalls is a total of 661. City-owned non-leased public parking, there's 256 stalls. City-owned lease parking, there's 117. There's currently 102 being leased, so there's 15 free. There's a total of 1,048 off-street parking stalls in the downtown area. Now you add in off-street parking from 4th North all the way to 2nd South, from Broadway to German Street, that adds another 523 stalls, which brings your total to 1,571 parking stalls in the downtown area. It's quite a bit. We also surveyed 9 different communities of our similar size and similar downtown layouts. And what I can say of those 9 communities is there clearly is not a one-size-fits-all that everybody's using. Everybody is different. They're either doing this through a conditional use permit process, they're requiring 2, they're requiring 1.5. It's all over the board. So there also was a concern brought up after the last meeting from a person with us reducing that number, which is currently 2, down to 1 per unit. And part of their concern was that there's going to be an oversaturation of residential units, rental residential units in the downtown area. Our last housing study, which was done in 2024, showed that there was a need of approximately 135 market rate rental units. And with those 2 new projects being proposed, that's going to put us anywhere from 144 to 174. So I would say we're right in the range of what's being proposed to meet our current need according to the last housing plan that was done in 2022. And as far as senior housing units, there is definitely a huge need for those types of apartments. And even in the downtown, there was the housing analysis said that we needed about 61 of those, and currently there's 0 being proposed. So I would say that the proposed rentals units that are in the downtown are going to meet our housing demand, or at least hopefully get us closer. So that's kind of a summary of how we came to this recommendation. I should note that the Planning Commission at their February meeting unanimously recommended that the City Council approve the change in the zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Nicely.
Mr. Nicely, I know the state is tackling and taking a look at this. Can you talk about that and where that's at this point? 'Cause that could really mess with all this.
Yeah, the state, there's a bill right now that is taking a look at making some major changes to have basically some state control over certain parts of zoning. One of them might be off-street parking. They were taking a look at requiring 0 stalls.
Right, exactly.
And I'll be honest, I don't think that really fits well in many rural communities. It might work well in the metro, but this is still a vehicle-oriented community. Yes, we would like to obviously move towards more transit and that type of thing, but the reality is people still live and work and use their vehicles on a daily basis.
But
So
if
I
that's
think
a state, if that's going to be a new state ordinance, that would overrule our 1 stall, correct?
correct.
Yes.
But I
Dave's
would-
got the state is proposing 1?
Yeah.
So I thought I heard 0 too.
Moved it to 1.
I feel a little better then, because that would just be just terrible in our community.
Yeah,
Any community.
there's been multiple iterations, and the latest version is 1, but
Okay, good.
it changes almost daily.
I did get a call on this topic, and people, with somebody who's living downtown or has a rental unit downtown and concerned about going to 1, as far as the number of people that need to park downtown and how they feel the lack of parking availability now versus going down to 1, and that would even make it worse. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I have a couple thoughts on that. One of the things that we have to take a look at is all of the available parking we have within a block of the downtown. Now, it might mean that you might not have a spot available directly in the place that you're going to be patronizing. It might mean you have to walk a block, or that could be something that comes up. So it would be a shift in that kind of perception and how to deal with that. Another thing I would really encourage you to take a look at too is, look at how parking was when you came in tonight, I should say, and then look at parking when you leave tonight. It'll be 2 different animals. The downtown there'll be a lot less people in the downtown. So it's during those business hours that it's really busy, but it's during those evening hours and morning hours when the residences will be returning from work and parking in the downtown area. So you would think that there shouldn't be a ton of conflict between customers in the downtown and the residences living in the downtown.
And Mr. Nisley, the proposed 1 is just kind of the required, right? Builders could certainly and probably will go over that 1 just because you want to attract renters that have vehicles. So it's not required that it's just 1, but I think the builders would kind of know, I guess, what that sweet spot is.
Yes.
I appreciate all the content you've put into this, and appreciate
work, a lot of work,
the
yeah.
follow-up on this too for those that weren't present at the last meeting. But, so I'll make a motion to conduct the second consideration of ordinance number 2024-082, amending a portion of section 9.2, use-specific standards, and 10.7 off-street parking requirements of Appendix A to the city code, and approve the summary of the ordinance to be published in the New Ulm Journal.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion does carry. Thank you, Mr. Nisley. Under new business, item 5.1, 2024 recreational trail project. Mr. Stadheim, once again.
Thank you, Madam President, City Councilors. Just a quick background on this, just to bring you up to speed. So we applied, the city applied for the DNR Local Trail Connection Program grant. You authorized that grant application on January 17th, 2023. We were notified of award on June 27th. We contracted with Bolton and Mink to work through the environmental requirements from that grant program. And we received the final executed grants after that environmental review on February 16th. So we are now at the point where we have prepared plans and specifications. We are asking you to approve those plans and specs tonight and set a bid opening date. This grant, just a quick reminder, is a 75-25 cost split between the city and the DNR. And the city portion of this has been budgeted within the Park and Recreations Department's 2024 budget.
Thank you.
With that information, I'll go ahead and offer a resolution approving the plans and specs, ordering the advertisement for bids, set the bid opening date, authorize staff to receive and open bids for the 2024 recreational trail project at 10 a.m. Wednesday, April 24th, 2024 in the City Hall chambers right here.
Second.
And a second, any additional discussion?
Excited to get this going. Yeah. Be nice.
Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Betker.
Yes, that motion does carry. Item number 5.2 is German Park Fountain Repair. Mr. Schugel, hello.
Thank you, President Betker and councilors. Today I'm with you asking for approval to fund an unbudgeted repair to the German Park fountain. And before you, I laid out three options. So the three options as follows is, number one, fund this request in the amount of $68,512.32 out of the Park and Rec fund balance. Option two would have that same amount come out of the capital improvement fund, Fund 290. Or option three, which I'll get into in a little bit, is have direct staff to continue with making the necessary repairs to continue this fountain to be operable in 2024. So for many years, what staff has been doing is working with local contractors to patch this fountain. With these patching and epoxies and painting options, we still have not been able to solve leak issues within the fountain. We know it's a bigger project than that. Also, I will note that there has been no significant surface treatments since 2007 for the fountain down there, and as you know, it operates, as long as we can get it from April some years, May most years, all the way through Oktoberfest. This would allow us to, keep the water intrusion out of the structural masonry of that fountain. So, happy to answer any questions you have. You'll see attached our two competitive bids. This is very specialized work, so it is not easy to necessarily get a bid, but we do have two competitive bids.
My only question is with the finance director, I know both those funds are in good shape. A recommendation or not? They're both in good shape.
They're both in good shape. The 290 fund, we're working on updating with more specific plans for the next up to 10, 20 years. So I don't have specifics of what we're going to need out of that fund going forward, but it does have a very healthy balance
Right.
at this point in time.
I mean, my personal opinion, I want it fixed. I don't want to see Band-Aids.
Not going to get any cheaper.
No.
Yeah. Joey, would they take this statute out to the park and take it somewhere and fix it, and it's going to be gone for a while?
For this work, no. This is inside the actual fountain and the structural walls, and taking that out and replacing that. So it actually doesn't require us removing the actual fountain out.
So would they do that during the summertime when we're using it, or can we get it moved to?
Best case scenario, authorization gets this project completed in 2024. Well, not best case scenario. Authorization gets this project completed in 24. Best case scenario would potentially get this done before we operate the fountain. So hopefully, yet this spring.
Early, okay.
If
I was
we
thinking
can
the other
get
end.
contractors on site and get the work completed. I have been told, potentially the work could be a week to 2 week project, if all goes well.
That's good money.
Yeah.
In my mind, I know budget it's not here, but it's around the corner. We've talked about using other park fund balance.
Yep.
If the other councils are all right with it, I'll motion for option two.
Yes.
All right. I'll approve the funding for an unbudgeted repair to the German Park Foundation in the 2024 budget year based on the following options. Option two, fund this request by using 290 capital improvement fund in the amount of $68,512.32, low quote from Dulcic Fountains.
Second.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5.3, request for proposals for Garden Street Utility and Roadway Reconstruction Project.
All right, thank you, Madam President and City Councilors. Some good news, the city has been notified that we have received 2 grants, or STP Small Urban Grants, both roughly in the neighborhood of $1.7 million, so about $3.4 million in total in federal fiscal year 2027. to help fund the reconstruction of Garden Street from Center Street to Fifth North Street. Proposed items included with this project would include water main reconstruction, water and sewer end service reconstruction, storm sewer rehab, and stormwater treatment, grading aggregate base, and then also included would be some permanent pedestrian safety improvements, similar in nature to what we had with the demonstration project last summer around Harmon Park. New street lighting and potentially a mini roundabout at the intersection of Fifth North Street. So again, those small urban grants include federal monies. In order to receive those federal monies, we have to work through the federal and state aid project delivery process, and that process is quite lengthy and specialized in items such as the federal project memorandum and the ICE reports and everything that will be required as project deliverables to the state for review. So we are requesting the authorization to go send out RFPs for this work, similar in process that we've done in the past on our state and federal aid projects. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Who's our wonderful grant writer?
You're looking at them.
That's what I want. Good work, excellent. That's a lot of money bringing into our community.
Just have a quick question. Would there be anything that changes if we were to do a roundabout at Center and Garden eventually?
So the project limits, we're going to pull back from Center Street a little bit just to provide a little bit of buffer, so we're not putting new infrastructure in that potentially would be removed with a full roundabout. That's still another project we're working on funding for, but so yeah, we would pull those limits back to approximately where we think that beginning of that project would start. So.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and make a motion to authorize a RFP to deliver the proposed 2027 Garden Street Utility and Roadway Reconstruction Project.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5.4, Braun Intertech Professional Services Agreement.
Right. This is my last one, I promise. Madam President, City Councilors. Again, talking those state and federal aid projects, our 2024 MSAS improvement project is a state and federal aid project. So being that there's state requirements for materials testing on those state projects, Braun Intertech would perform those services on behalf of the city. We've worked with Braun on many projects in the past, so we would recommend approving this agreement. The city attorney did review it, and he did have a couple slight modifications he would like to make. So if you choose to authorize or approve this agreement, we would appreciate the caveat of allowing the city attorney to make some minor modifications to the agreement language.
I'll motion to approve the professional services agreement with Braun Intertech in the amount of $48,478 to provide materials testing services for the 2024 MSAS improvement project, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement with the city attorney making minor modifications.
Second.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Item number 5.5, Mellon Foundation Grant for Library. April, Ms. Ide, the floor is yours.
President Bedker, councilors, I'm pleased to share with you that the library was approved for a Mellon Foundation grant in the amount of $250,000 for activities supporting the library's memory lab, as well as other services and projects at the library. In May of 2023, the Mellon Foundation's Public Knowledge Program reached out to the library about applying for the grant because they knew that we had been part of the original Memory Lab network that was established by the Institute for Museum and Library Services and the Washington, D.C. Public Library in 2018, which was when our Memory Lab was initially installed. So they asked if we would be interested in submitting a proposal, and we did, and I really want to recognize Leroy Harris, our Programming and Technology Services librarian. He wrote the bulk of the grant and did an excellent job working with the Mellon Foundation to answer their questions and put together our budget. So we have two key goals with this project. We want to improve our ability to act as a community gathering space, and we also want to collect and preserve stories of the past and present in our community. So the activities that we will be taking with the funds from the grant will support the Memory Lab as well as our library services and resources. So when we look at the Memory Lab, the things that we want to accomplish are updating our current equipment, including the computers, software, and microfilm reader that we currently own. We want to add new formats like 8mm film, high H8 tape, beta tape, oral recording services, and more. We want to create a designated space for the Memory Lab. Right now it's kind of tucked in a corner. We want to have more of a freestanding pod cubicle space for it where the equipment is secure and it's more private for people to do their digitization as well. We'd also like to create a mobile memory lab that will allow us to partner with schools, senior living facilities, the Brown County Historical Society, other organizations in New Ulm to collect those oral histories. And then we also want to do an oral histories project where we are inviting members of the community to submit their oral histories to the library so that we can preserve them and offer them to be accessed by the public. In relation to the Memory Lab activities, the funding will also allow us to stabilize the temperature and humidity. We have storage space under the 1936 building, and it's not a great environment for the bound newspapers, plat books, other historical objects we have there. So this funding will allow us to make that a better environment for those items as well. And then with the funding, we also want to add study room pods to the library. We often get requests for study spaces that we don't provide. We have a large meeting room in the basement that we rent out, but we don't have spaces for an individual to use for study that's private and enclosed, or for small groups right now. And then we also want to translate our website into Spanish so that we can better serve our community and reach a larger percentage of our community. And then we also want to offer charging stations for mobile devices. We have a great, big, beautiful building, but it's an older building that offers challenges as far as where our outlets and things are. And with more and more people using their own devices and bringing them to the library, we just need to offer that for our patrons. So the grant itself runs from April 1st of 2024 to March 31st of 2029. So we have 5 years to accomplish all of these great things that we want to do. We'll be required to report annually on our activities and our budget to the Mellon Foundation. And then the library board did approve the grant at their March 14th meeting, so they're excited for us to begin this work. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Congratulations.
Yes, this is big. That's great.
Sounds very ambitious. A lot of
A lot of
Vision.
projects.
yeah. So,
A question, as you go through these projects, will the bidding, you bring them to your library board, will they come to us?
To the library board.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and receive and order filed the Mellon Foundation grant for New Ulm Public Library's Memory Lab in the amount of $250,000. Congratulations.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Just congratulations. I was reading through this and it's really great.
Thank you.
Yes. Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Our last item of business today, item number 5.6, is a petition court to reappoint city charter commission members. And I would like to just thank Councilor Schultz and Christian because I see that you're both willing to serve again. And so thank you.
I'll offer the resolution directing the city attorney to prepare and file a petition requesting the district court to reappoint 3 city charter commission members to a 4-year term.
second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? I would just like to note that there is one open spot available on the Charter Commission, and just was maybe going to look to both of you guys just to share a little bit about what that is and what you guys do.
Well, we meet every year, and anybody on the charter can bring suggested changes or revisions. There hasn't been much the last couple of years. It's mostly been cleanup. But occasionally, there's been talk of other larger things, and if there was, we would discuss them as a group. Then we vote on everything similar to what the city council does here, and it comes back in front of us and has to have a unanimous approval, including the mayor's vote. Yes. So not a lot of meetings. I think we had 4 meetings this last year, 3 or 4. So it went well. Everybody gets along great. Not been any hot topics.
My comment is, as a counselor, it forces you to go into our city charter
Yes, and read it, and read it.
and actually read
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's-
do from time to time. Yeah,
I did in 2018.
so did I. Any additional discussion? Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Warmka?
Yes.
And President Becker?
Yes, that motion does carry. With no additional business, today's meeting is adjourned. We will move into a work session to follow. Thank you.